I'd like to take a moment now and introduce Jim and Gloria a bit more about their background. Jim Vandenbosch is the founder and executive director of Terra Nova Films. He has produced several award-winning films on a variety of aging-related issues, including several videos on successful ways to communicate and work with persons who are living with dementia, which we all know how important that is and necessary in our community. He has presented workshops at several conferences dealing with the ethical issues involved in elder abuse and guardianship. He is also an associate editor for the Arts and Humanities section of the Gerontologist, which is an academic journal of the Gerontological Society of America. And in this position that he's currently in, he reviews mainstream films that deal with aging themes, and he holds a master's degree in film and television from the University of Iowa. Gloria Starling is the director of marketing for Terra Nova Films and has been with the company for over 22 years. That means she's dedicated to this work. She contacts customers about Terra Nova's products, helps them with selections, and prides herself on making every customer's day better. She acquires new distribution resources and shares information about the company at conferences and other events. All things creative, she also designs, forms, and writes content for the websites, newsletters, flyers, catalogs, ads, and social media posts. She holds a bachelor's degree in writing in English from Columbia College in Chicago, I'm sorry. So with no further ado, let's give a nice round of applause, a warm welcome to Jim Vandenbosch and Gloria Starling.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to start very quickly by just how this whole thing came about. As Janelle said, Terra Nova has a brand new film, and we were looking for a host location to show the film and get some feedback before it's finalized. And I remembered when I had a membership at the Kroc Center that they had a family caregiver workshop, and I called, and right before I called, I remember saying, Lord, please let me find the right person. And he did exactly that. I was directed to Darlene Humphrey. She was really wonderful. And she said, I have the ideal person for you to connect with. And she connected me with the Janelle Bennett, and they have been so welcoming. And I just thank them both for this opportunity to present on today.
I'll go ahead and share your presentation for you. Give me one moment. Can everyone see my screen well? All right. You can take it away, Gloria.
Amen. Okay, I just wanted to let you know that this is a very personal introduction to Terra Nova Films. And a confession, I had my little notes and I was going to try to keep up with my notes, but it's just better. I'm just going to speak from the heart because I really love Terra Nova, and it's very easy to talk about Terra Nova. Next. If we can get the next slide.
Can you see the screen on my end? It shows, it says, who is Terra Nova Films? Is that the correct slide?
Okay, yes, that'll be the next one.
It's not showing on ours. Janelle, maybe try to put it in presentation view, and then maybe you can hit the arrows.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to start over. Is this better?
There we go. Thank you, Janelle. And I just wanted to introduce Terra Nova. And as I was looking at this picture, we are located inside of the Trinity United Methodist Church in Beverly, and we've been there for over 40 years. And Terra Nova, we create, we produce, and distribute educational films geared exclusively toward the care, safety, and dignity of older adults. And as I was looking at those doors, I was reminded of 22 years ago when I first walked through those doors. And I was a telemarketer for the videos. I remember the very first video that I sold for Terra Nova, Choice and Challenge, caring for older adults across levels of care. And the reason that I remember that first day so intensely is because it was easy. And the reason I said it was easy, when I started making the phone calls, people were telling me about how wonderful Terra Nova was. They were telling me about the Terra Nova staff. And instead of being a cold call, it felt more like a partnership. And that's one of the main things I really appreciate about Terra Nova, that it feels more like a partnership with the community that we serve. Next. When I look at this picture, I wanted to get a picture that just really captured for me what Terra Nova is about. And if there is one, this picture captures it for me. And it's from a video that we produced called More Than Words, a new culture of care and communication for persons who have dementia. And what this picture means to me is we have a connection to the people that we serve. And it's not even just the people that we serve. Everyone we come in contact with, the residents, the advocates, there's a connection there. And this picture just captures Terra Nova's spirit to me. Next. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the vision of Terra Nova. Everyone is aware of how powerful films are. They can make or break the way you think about a certain topic. And Terra Nova, from the very beginning, decided to use the power of film to make change in the area that they work in as far as aging. And the films are designed to make a difference. And the very first film that Terra Nova did was a film called Because Somebody Cares. And it was a film about volunteers and the older adults that they served and the connection that was made through those relationships. And the film became an award-winning film because everyone felt the connection, and the films just made a difference when people saw them and could see how things could be. And following that, there were other award-winning films, My Mother, My Father, Elder Abuse 5 Case Studies, and 1,000 Tomorrows, Intimacy, Sexuality, and Alzheimer's. Just all the films that make a difference, you know, when you connect with people. And that's the vision of Terra Nova, to make a difference through film and just to challenge how we think about aging, and just to make a better space for older, when we get older, because we have a platform for our youth, for our young adulthood. We have a platform even for middle age, but when you get to your older age, you're supposed to just kind of like just exist and just deal with it. But there's a plan, there's a season for every part of our lives, and we want to make sure that we look at our whole life as a continuum. Next. And I love to see these photos because films that make a difference. When you talk about daily life, everyone should still be a part of life, no matter how young they are, how old they are. And these films that we do, we want to make sure that life is lived at every age, at every stage. We want to have a best case scenario for aging, and that is what we hope our films do, that our films teach us to value our elderhood as much as any other part of life. Next. And I chose this, this was a comment from one of our customers, and I just wanted to share the impact of Terra Nova films. And, you know, what the films, how the films do make a difference. And that's what fuels us day by day as we do the work that we do, to know that we are making a difference to our customers. And every time someone watches one of our films, we would like for them to have the same sentiment as Elaine Wilson, that they would not trade our films for $1 million, because they're so valuable for what they do. Next. Distribution. Another major part of Terra Nova's life is distribution. And we distribute films, again, geared toward the care, safety, and dignity of older adults. And I just did a couple of bullet points on some of the categories that we have: aging and elderhood, Alzheimer's and dementia care, death and dying, elder abuse prevention, fall prevention. And we have many catalogs that, if you'd like to receive many catalogs on any of these topics, we'd be happy to get them to you. And this is just an idea. We have tons of videos on the site that pretty much cover every aspect of aging. And I'd like to point out that a major bulk of what we do is long-term care and assisted living staff training films. We have over 10,000 customers on our database that use our films, and our films have become a mainstay for many of these organizations. I've had organizations just starting, and they would get their whole collection of training films from Terra Nova, and that's what we want to do. We want to make a difference in the lives of people with our films. Next. And I just wanted to make you guys aware of another service that Terra Nova provides. Jim Vandenbosch, he presents multimedia workshops all across the country and abroad. And I have seen people cry at these presentations because they've made such a connection. People find themselves when Jim's talking about the things he's experienced when he shows the films. People find themselves. And I think that's a major part of what we do. And there are 3 presentations that Jim does. There's one, More Than Words, and that one is reframing perceptions of dementia. And then this is always interesting to me. He did a stint where he went into a nursing home unawares, and the things that he learned as a resident in a dementia care unit. And then also just exploring the nursing home of the future. What will we be able to expect when we are at the point where we are ready for a nursing home, and just to get us thinking about these things along the way and how we can contribute positively to the future of aging. And I just wanted to take a quick second here to tell you all the things that Jim Vandenbosch would never tell you, but I will. Jim, he's an award-winning filmmaker in his own right. He has presented all across the world, masterclass level, as a keynote speaker and presenter. He's presented in Prague, in England, and he has also curated film festivals, internationally, worldwide film festivals. And he's a very modest man, so he'd never tell you that, but I just want to share that he has really contributed a lot to the field of aging. Next. And this is exciting. In 2021, we developed and launched a sister site to Terra Nova Films, and it's called Movies About Aging and Elderhood. And it's pretty much a next step and offshoot of what we do at Terra Nova. And the goal of Movies About Aging is to normalize aging, to see aging as a natural continuum of life. And I can't say it enough, with unlimited possibility and growth. And through the films that Jim Vandenbosch and Rick Scheid reviewed, they challenge ageism, and they just present aging as a more robust idea of life and as a normal season of life. There are things you can do as you age and get older, and we just want to see life given to the older part of our life in our elderhood as we age. And I also, when you guys go on our website, we do have, I did put up a new clip of Jim and Rick. They did a presentation on March 9th through the New York State Office on Aging. And it's a delightful conversation on ageism in film that I think you'll find a lot of great insights. Feel free to go on our website and take a peek at that. It's under presentations and events. I think you'll really come away refreshed and thinking about aging in a different perspective. Next. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jim. This is the film that we mentioned at the beginning, and Jim can tell you a little bit more about its history and how it came about. Jim?
Okay, thank you so much, Gloria. Really wonderful introduction to what Terra Nova is and what our vision is. Thank you so much. I will be brief here because what we really want to get to is you guys out there to think about whether you might want to host a screening of this new film. So I'll just give you a little bit of background to how this film came about. As Gloria mentioned, we've been around for a long, long time. I think it's close to 40 years or even more now. That we have been producing films and going to festivals and talking about films, presenting films. So one of the earlier films that I did, Gloria mentioned the very first one, which was Because Somebody Cares. The next major film I did was called My Mother, My Father. And the film wasn't about my mother and my father. It was a way of saying everybody, not everybody, most people still have a mother and a father that may be alive and that they are going to be possibly needing to help as they go through their aging years. So what we did was I interviewed probably 20 different families in the Chicago area and selected 4 families to be in this film. And then we kind of told their story, each one of them, and how they were providing assistance and help to an aging parent. And everybody had a different approach to it. And the aim of the film was kind of like, there's no one way to do this. Everybody's experience is a little bit different. Everybody's experience has value. We just want to show you 4 different ways that 4 different families are providing care for an aging parent. This film happened in the mid 80s. So that's almost 40 years ago now. 7 years later, after the first film was done, I thought it might be a good idea to go back to those same 4 families and just have another look at what had happened in those 7 years. So I did that. Each of the families was very willing to cooperate and to be interviewed again. And we called that film My Mother, My Father, 7 years later. And I kind of had in the back of my mind, wouldn't it be great to go back to these families periodically, maybe every 7 years, 10 years. But somehow life got in the way. I never really got to do that on a consistent basis. Until about 5 years ago, I started to think maybe it's not too late. Maybe I can still go back to some of these families at least and see what has happened in the last 30 years or 35 years. And so I started with one family that I knew fairly well and that had a large family. There were 6 children in the family. And I approached them and said, would you be willing to get together and talk about how you provided care for your parents like they provided care to your grandpa? Their parents had provided care to Grandpa. Their family's name is Honnell. They had provided care to Grandpa Honnell when he had dementia, and I think it was a period of 5 or 6 years that he stayed in their home, and they provided the care for him. So it really impacted the whole family. Although some of the adult children had already moved out, they still knew about Grandpa, they still interacted with Grandpa, and they still supported their parents who were taking care of Grandpa. So fast forward 30, 35 years later, and Milt and Rosalie the parents of the now generation, unfortunately had both passed away by the time that I got the other children together. But it hadn't been that long ago, so they were very willing to talk about how they had provided care for Milt and Rosalie. And we sat down with them, and it's probably, a 15 or 16-minute interview. So I pulled together glimpses from the first film from 1984, glimpses from the second film from 1990, and then primarily this interview, which told how the 6 children had provided care for Milt and Rosalie just 3 or 4 years ago. So I think the film is somewhat unusual in that you get to see in a 29-minute time span the caregiving life over a multi-generational time that this family provided care for an elder parent, 2 different elderly parents, 2 different generations of parents. So I think that it gives you that kind of a look, which I don't know of any other film that has done that. And what we're really wanting is for the reaction of people, for the comments of people telling us, does this work? Are there things that are not clear? Are there technical issues that we should pay attention to? So we're in the final stage of working on this film, and we would really value some more input to it. So that's basically it. I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have about the film, but that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Gloria, for your presentation. Gloria, did you have any last things that you wanted to share? I know there's a few more slides.
I just wanted to thank everyone for watching our presentation, and I really mean what I wrote in this slide. We do invite you to learn and to grow with us because we are still growing, so we can go along this journey together.
Absolutely. So here's the contact information if you'd like to further discuss things or be in touch with Terra Nova Films via Jim or Gloria. So I'll leave this slide up, but I did see that we have a hand raised from Janie. Janie, you want to go ahead?
Sure, thank you. And thank you both very much. It's very compelling information. I'm curious about how you're funded.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a combination of funding from foundations, and sometimes we get a contract to do a film for another agency. So that's another funding source. And then really one of the reasons we also distribute our films is that it helps us to be financially stable. Because to get all of our funding from foundations, as many of you may know, it is just a huge battle, and the amount of time that it takes to do fundraising. So early in Terra Nova's history, it dawned on me that not that many people were distributing films about aging issues. So we kind of put ourselves in that position, and we started to distribute not only our own films, but other people's films as well. So doing that helps keep the lights on, and then grants from foundations help us to do new productions.
Thank you.
Any other questions or even just comments? All right, Harriet, I see your hand is raised.
Yes. Without being too, well, I am asking a question from a standpoint of someone who sits on a nonprofit board and someone that writes grants to nonprofits, and someone who is looking at how churches have empty spaces now. So can you speak to essentially you need real estate. And so I suspect that the United Methodist church there in Beverly's happy that you're here. Then do you have to have two separate corporations or something? So one's nonprofit, one's, I mean, tell us what you want to. I'm not trying to pin you down on anything, but something might be helpful for those of us in nonprofits to, you know, to ethically keep the lights on and do ministry for places.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And that is one of the things that I looked for very early on. When we set up Terra Nova, we set it up as a not-for-profit because I realized that what we wanted to do, the mission that we had, could not be totally self-sustaining. There just wasn't enough money involved in distributing the films that we or even other people made that dealt with aging issues. So we are structured as a not-for-profit. In our mission charter, there is also the words distribute. And I'm so glad that we set up our charter mission statement that way, because it allows us legally and ethically with the IRS to not only produce films, but then to be involved in making them available and, you know, charging a fair price for them without being relegated then into the for-profit structure. So we're kind of a unique animal in that we get money from foundations, but we also supplement that with a very mission-driven distribution program. Then to talk to where we are, early on, I was searching for a place in Beverly that wasn't going to cost us an arm and a leg. And I don't know where the idea came from, but I started to talk to various churches in the area with exactly what you were thinking, that perhaps they had some space and they would be happy to get some revenue from us without us having to pay market price for, you know, a place that was highly visible. We didn't need a highly visible place. We just needed a place to work. So after approaching 2 or 3 churches, the United Methodist Church was very happy to have us come in. And we paid them a fair rent, but it, you know, they were also very fair with us. So it is a reduced rent, and that really has helped us as a not-for-profit. So yeah, if people are looking for a way, you know, churches are not-for-profits too. So they would probably be amenable to giving space to a not-for-profit if they had the space to offer.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. The film My Mother, My Father, the one that you're now promoting, what's the name of that one? Is it?
The film, the new film?
Yes,
The
that's
new
30
film.
years later.
Yeah. Well, we did My Mother, My Father in 1980. I think we released it in 1984. We produced it in 1983. Then 7 years later, we did My Mother, My Father, 7 years later.
Right.
This film, because it only deals with one family, I didn't take the time to go and interview all 4 families again. I hope to get to 1 or more of those families still. But for now, we started with one family. And so we gave it a different title. And the title is, I'm Glad We Did It This Way.
Okay, that's right. All right.
Because that actually comes from one of the statements of one of the adult children's spouses, where he was saying, you know, the whole family realized after we had done things the way we did them, that it was the best way to do it. So
That's touching. So for the film, I'm Glad We Did It This Way, would you say is geared toward a certain audience, or is it for anyone in general?
it could be anyone in general. It could be any one individual who is dealing with caregiving issues for their parents. But I think it's particularly relevant to any organization that supports and advocates for family caregivers.
Okay.
Gloria, I don't know if you want to add any more to that.
I think that pretty much sums it up. You know, it's for anyone who even wants to understand where their family may be headed, because at some point these are issues that we all run into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the uniqueness of the film is that you get to see people in 1990 who were in their early 20s or maybe mid 20s, and then you see them in 2022 and they're suddenly in their 60s. So it's kind of almost a jolt to see somebody, 40 years later. Not that we shouldn't be shocked by that, because we've all experienced that, either ourselves or with friends or classmates. If you haven't seen them in 40 years and suddenly you see them, you're aware of the passage of time and all the issues that go along with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I asked, is this movie more catered to a certain audience, simply because we have a variety of groups, a variety of organizations that join us and that we're connected to. And so it's good to know that really anyone who is interested could benefit or enjoy being engaged by the video, but more so also just letting everyone know that this is something that right now they really need our feedback on, so that when it is out to the public, it's just the way we would want it to be seen to the public. So if anyone, whether you have residents in your resident homes, or you support through a caregiver support group, or you're a social worker and a group of older adults that may like this, if you're leading a church, I think that regardless of your role, that you could be able to support Terra Nova Films with this new film they have. Is there?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a large group. Any size group really would be fine. In fact, I think the group probably could be too large in order to get some good discussion and feedback. But if there's just 4 or 5 people, we're willing to do that as well.
And then, go ahead, Susan. I don't want to take up with all the questions, but go ahead.
Well, actually, I had to step away, and so I may have missed this. Clearly, this is the kind of film that would be very good for things like the village, like Janie's village and our village. We could do it together or not. But I missed what's involved in getting the film to show it, and what it would cost us, and what's involved.
Yeah. We didn't really cover that, so I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, there would be no cost, because we're still in kind of this feedback mode, and we value people's feedback right now while we're finishing the film. And what would be involved is basically, if you have a good size viewing screen that we can link my computer to, the film is in my computer. So it's just a matter of making that link to the video projector and having decent sound and a decent place to show it. That's really all that's involved. And then Gloria and I would come out with the film, and we'd be happy to lead a little discussion or just facilitate feedback. Gloria's developed a little questionnaire, which helps people give their feedback.
So how much time ideally would you like for such a showing and presentation?
The film is about 29 minutes long. So by the time, we do a little introduction and then have a question and answer session, it could all be done within an hour.
Our problem is that the facility that we use does not have good acoustics.
Yeah.
We can probably get a screen, but anyway, we'll think about. I think it would be. Of course, villages are all about choice and making choices and having the good information for making the choices. So, this obviously is well suited to many of our participants' questions.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question about, and it looks like Monica might be asking a similar thing. Who do you see as the best target audience for this movie? Because I would guess that older adults are going to know about aging and elderhood, but is it potential caregivers, adult children, paid caregivers? You know, who would you see as the primary beneficiary of the information that's going to be presented?
Gloria, I'm going to let you start answering that.
Okay, well, actually, I would say all of the above, because what the film does is it just kind of puts you in the mode of thinking about aging and just the whole process of aging, all the different things you go through. And just by what really affected me about the film is like you see the person taking care of their parent, and then that person's children, they're having a discussion with their children, and then their children actually get a chance to take care of their parents, and are they, you know, following what the parents wanted. So it's a very interesting connection of different points of view, and just thinking about aging and the process of aging and how it affects you. I think it'll be very good as far as like students, just to get students in the frame of mind of thinking about aging differently, because we know that aging is not presented in a nice light most times, but just to start thinking about aging normally and naturally. So I think the audience would be students. I think it would be older adults, any senior advocates who work with older adults and families. So I think it's a pretty broad audience that the film would be targeted for to reach and make a connection.
Really, the focus of the film is on caregiving. And I think what Gloria is saying there are so many things that are involved in caregiving. It's not just providing the hands-on care. It's also all the emotional issues that go along with it. So anybody who has had an experience or might be facing an experience of caring for an elderly parent, or anybody who supports somebody who is going through that, that's what the film is really aimed for.
You said you thought that there might be too big an audience. What's too big in your mind?
I guess I was thinking, you know, to have a discussion or to get people's feedback, if you have, you know, 50 or 100 people, that's a little bit more difficult. And you also have to have a bigger screening area for people. So ideally, I think we showed this to the age options group of caregiver supporters a few weeks ago. And I think, what do we have, Gloria, maybe 25 people?
Yeah.
And that was ideal, but I think, you know, 50 might be the max. But that's not saying we would turn down if you had a really nice auditorium and you got 100 people together. We would love to show the film to 100 people.
Well, and then you could break into discussion groups.
You could. You
Yeah.
could. That's a good point. Yes. It would take a little bit longer that way. You'd probably need an hour and a half, but yeah, you could do that.
Susan, I sent you a chat regarding space and location. So I would love to talk a little bit more. I did send a message to Janelle. I was trying to send it to the group about having it for students or having it for healthcare providers who take care of older adults. So I
Right.
have a bunch of ideas. I just was trying not to bombard with the questions as well. By the way, I'm Monica from the Share Network. So I was allowing others to ask questions before I started in with my hundreds of ideas that I have. This is amazing. This is great. This is something that really is untouched, I believe, in Chicago. It might be touched somewhere else, and honestly, we've had some connection with some filmmakers downtown, but I kind of lost touch with them. But again, this is something that is needed. And so I really, I wrote down all of your contact information. So I'm sure the Share Network will contact you again, but there's others that I want to kind of help them connect with you as well. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you. I see Harriet, your hand is raised.
Yeah, so geographically, how far do you come?
Anywhere in the Chicago area.
Okay.
You know,
I see this as something our local library might be interested in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Something our Association of Churches, adult education in a mosque or synagogue or church.
yes.
I mean, and you're still at the feedback stage, right?
Yes.
They haven't given you an Oscar yet.
Not yet, no.
We can all be part of your getting an Oscar.
Absolutely.
And I Janelle will send us contact information so we can hook you up, connect you. I mean, the Hyde Park Art Center might show it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, Off the Pews, Susan and I sit on the board of directors of Off the Pews. And this is something we might sponsor with the Hyde Park Art Center.
They actually have a good space for showing that and a good screen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
just don't have a good parking lot.
yeah, that's a great idea, Harriet.
I'm actually,
For those of you that, I mean, we can definitely put the contact information in the chat, but it's up on the screen. I can still see it on my screen. Not sure. But
I had a question.
their contact info is on the screen.
Could I do a follow up on that first? So if we were to do it at a place like the Hyde Park Art Center or something, could we do it virtually too? Or could we do it virtually, period?
We could. I would much prefer to do it in person, but yes, I think along with that, as long as wherever we were showing it had the capacity to make it available online as well. I've done presentations that way before, and all that's needed is the capacity for somebody in that organization to make that happen. Yeah.
All right, this was the feedback I was looking for and the reason why I made sure to bring them to our community partner meeting, because I knew that amongst everyone here, there would be some connections made and that there would be high interest. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are like, hey, I got an idea. And hey, I want to get your information. And hey, I want to I want to see how we can make this happen. And so I do want to make sure to point out that we have some things in the chat that I will highlight, but then also I noticed Candace has been trying to share with us her thoughts, her comments. So Candace, you can go ahead and then I will read some things that's in the chat.
Thanks, Janelle. I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed this presentation, but also I think this was addressed, maybe I missed it. To host something in person, I would get in contact with you, Gloria, correct? Or both you and Jim?
Jim is actually spearheading the screenings, so you can contact either one of us, but Jim would be dealing with the screenings, but you can also contact me as well.
Okay, and if there was an in-person screening at an organization, would you both come? Would there
Yes.
be, is there something like, well, will that be sent out in the email or?
Yeah, there would be no fee as long as we are still in this feedback stage. And yes, both Gloria and I would come.
Okay, so you do virtual and in person?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
How long do you expect to be in this feedback stage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably not more than a couple of months. You know, we want to get it wrapped up and get it finished and make it available to a wider audience.
Once it is available to a wider audience, what is your usual fee?
I think we're still kind of discussing that, but typically Gloria can address this better than me because she's in charge of marketing, but we have different levels of use of the film. A lot of our films are available digitally through our site for as little as, I think it's $3.99 for 24 hours.
Yes.
But then you can also rent the film for a longer period of time for like $45. or you can actually buy the film, and usually it's in the $99 range, between $45 and $99.
Thank you.
Right, and we really try to make sure that we get the films where we can get them out to the people who need them. So we always have discounts on our films, and we make concessions for regular people, not because a lot of our films are used by institutions, but like the family. We make our pricing. We try to make it where they can get it, and it's try to make everything budget friendly across the board for families. But a bulk of the films are used institutionally. So, but I try to keep things $99 and under, because most people seem to be able to handle that, and we try to go a little bit lower even for families.
Yeah, and again, we do have that option. If you're not interested in using the film many times, then the 24-hour period is the best way to go, because that's just $3.99. But if you're going to be using it, many times over the year, then it may make more sense just to buy the film.
Well, I just want to say one more time, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Gloria, so much. We can hear your passion, and we're really proud of you all for the work that you've done so far. I really commend you guys. This is so needed, or as Monica said, it's very untouched, which is why it is also needed in our community. And we are rooting for you, and we are behind you and supporting you, and getting more access to the film and having more feedback before you have access to the film. So with that, I do want to say that if there's anyone who wants to host a film review, you can contact Jim and Gloria, and their contact information I'll leave up on the screen for a little bit longer. But then also, if down the line you're like, hey, I think I like to do that, although they're trying to do that within the next month. So by down the line, I mean like in a week or two, if you decide you like to do that, feel free to email me and I can connect you to Gloria, and she can set that up for you all. And then lastly, I know we like to have our networking part, so I'm going to quickly just read 2 comments that were in the chat just to respect the comments, but then I'll open it up to the rest of the group. So Nisi Pinkney, she shared that she meant to introduce herself earlier, but she is a social worker at Rush Medical Center, and she works in the Caring for Caregivers department. It is great that there is a film that can be shown to caregivers, and it seems to make it more relatable. So thank you for that comment, Nisi. And then Fallon White shared that she is from Woodson Regional Library, and she will speak with leadership who she is sure would like to host. And one great thing about Woodson is that they are a dementia-friendly library as well. And so a lot of the patrons there, they already are looking for things very much so in line with family caregiving. So this would be right up their alley. And then Karen Graham, hi Karen. She shared that this sounds like an event for dementia-friendly Washington Heights to jointly sponsor you with. So there we go. We have someone else who would like to support. And again, their contact information is here. I will share their contact information in that follow-up email, as well as I will share my email now, and everyone can contact me if you like to be in touch with Gloria or Jim. So with that, with our last few minutes, I'm sorry we only have 5 more minutes. That really held some great question and discussion, but is there anyone who would like to pose any questions to the group overall, or share their program updates, or share any highlights that's going on with their organizations?
Now I have to get to another meeting, so I'm going to drop off, but I just wanted to say thank you again for this wonderful opportunity you've given us to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Janelle.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Jen.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can open up to the group now.
Well, hi, everyone. Can I go?
Yes, go
Yes.
ahead.
All right. Well, my name is Melissa Durham. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing with Autumn Green at Midway Village. We're a senior housing community, and we provide housing for those who are for independent or assisted living. So as you're working with your clients, loved ones, or in your wonderful fields that you have, if by any chance someone is kind of in need of some additional care services or things of that sort, feel free to definitely take us into consideration for a new housing options for them. It's a retirement community, and we do provide housing for those who are 55 and better. And thank you guys for having me.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Have you share your information in the chat?
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. I wanted to thank you for that. And what I'd like to just say on that is the information, feel free to contact us because we always have new resources as well available. And I can see everyone I've talked to, I think we can really work together with a lot of these issues. And I'm just so excited to be welcomed here. I feel like a part of the family already, and so we and please email me. I'd like to find out the different ways we can help each other. If you'd like to leave an email, we can send you information on our distribution films. I know Share Network does a lot with education, so we can probably work together a lot with the education and training films. So send an email. Let me know if you'd like to be on the email for Terra Nova or movies about aging and elderhood, or both, and we'll make sure we stay connected. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of other good information for me that I'd really love to hear about. And thank you so much, Melissa, for that comment.
Yes, Gloria, I would love to open up my community for it to view the movie, but I think we it's pretty large, but I don't know if it's large enough. So the choice will be yours. You're more than welcome to come in and see if this would be a fit to maybe be one of your locations to host something that as well.
Okay, please email me. That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
And I'm going ahead right now and posting Gloria's information in the chat. I'll also provide it in our follow-up email.